Given the number of years you've researched this topic and the subsequent years you've spent thinking and writing about it, I think this is probably the best first question there could be. Bruce Alexander, what is addiction?
Yeah. And of course, you've asked me a 6-hour question, and I'm going to try to give you a 3-minute answer.
Yeah, let's see what we can do.
Well, the best way to get into addiction is to look it up in the Oxford English Dictionary. The definition 1A of addiction is something like being dedicated or devoted to something, sometimes too much. That's essentially what the word means in English. It has nothing to do with drugs, it has nothing to do with disease, and it's only sometimes too much. So here's the fact. That human beings are capable of concentration of attention and concentration of effort. And that's just part of being human. Like, for example, if you fall in love, referring again back to Peele and Brodsky, if you fall in love, that's a concentration of attention and dedication, which fits the definition of addiction. Now, if you fall in love and then continue in that relationship after it becomes abusive and disgusting, well, that's addiction. But that's an extreme form of addiction. But the point is that addiction is just part of life. I'm learning more about addiction right now from my 3-year-old grandson than I ever expected to do, because this kid is totally addicted to excavators. You know what I mean? Those big machines which dig trenches in the side of the roads and stuff. He loves them. He has to see them all the time, and we have to get him a new excavator for his birthday, and then he wants to take it to bed. and when there's excavators out on the street, he leaves his friends. He wants to go out and see the excavator. I mean, it really interferes with his life. But this, of course, there's nothing abnormal about him. There's nothing abnormal about it. It's just that we have this capacity to focus. And of course, that's how children grow up. They have these infatuations, which are, could be to excavators or dollies or dinosaurs or whatever it happens to be. And that's how they educate themselves. And that's how they sort of coordinate the adults around them who understand this. Now, we happen to live in a culture where excavation, I was going to say, but I should say addiction is gone out of control. So we have people who are so addicted that they can die of it, or they can do tremendous harm of it. And then we have to ask why. Why do we have that? And we have to ask, why do some cultures have that kind of epidemic, if you will, of addiction, and other cultures don't? Or why do they change back and forth, and why does it change historically? And that's the essence of my work. I've gone from being a rat scientist to being an amateur anthropologist and sociologist and historian and just observer of people around me, trying to understand why it is that some people take addiction, which is this perfectly normal aspect of human existence, and blow it all out of control. And I think the answer is now fairly obvious to many of us, and not just me. But the answer is that we happen to be in a particular period of history, a particular kind of society, which blows normal communities all to pieces, blows normal culture all to pieces. And we wind up being isolated individuals with, really not much connection with our families, not much connection with our communities, not much ability to respect our countries or our country's leaders, just isolated individuals. And that requires some kind of a solution. And my contention is this, that addiction provides a way to adapt to that kind of horrible dislocation. Because if you've really got nothing making much sense in your life, you really don't have a life, then you can get into an addiction, and it becomes a substitute to, like you can go down to the skid row in your town and, put out $20 and get some heroin. And you're not just buying a little powder there. You're buying some membership into an identity, into a group of junkies and so forth. And that works for people when nothing else works. So they're not going to give up that addiction. And of course, it isn't just drugs. It may be, as Stanton's pointed out so clearly, it could be love relationships, which, people aren't going to give them up because it's all they've got. Or it could be gambling, or it could be 1,000 things. And that's where I think we are. I think we're in a situation where there are literally thousands of kinds of addiction jeopardy that surround us and that we're vulnerable to because we're so dislocated. That's why I think it's a social problem. I think the solution will come not from guys like me, not from therapists so much as from social people who are reorganizing society. And there are wonderful people trying to do that right now. As we all know, we're in a stage of change, and I think that stage of change will not only solve perhaps our ecological problems and our income distribution problems, but also our addiction problems. That's my hope.